Hello and welcome. And you're in the right place if you want to really know how to improve your vocabulary for the IELTS exam. And in this lesson, I'm going to share with you a method for increasing your vocabulary and strengthening it, but not in the usual way. It's not about having to use special or fancy words. It's not about going over and over academic word lists and trying to learn special academic words. And it's not spending time having to memorize definitions and words from the dictionary, because that doesn't work. And I'll tell you why it doesn't work. It's because you want to be able to speak naturally and express your ideas and your thoughts and your opinions in writing naturally. And you want to be able to do that uh, with words that you're experienced using, not new words that you're really not comfortable with or using for the first time. And you want to be able to answer the questions that you're given and stay within the context and to be able to express your ideas and thoughts and opinions in that context. So, learning lots of fancy and new words that you wouldn't use in any other situation is not going to help you to do this naturally and effectively in the IELTS exam. If you've reached a good level of English, if your English level is ready for the IELTS exam, if you're at a B2 or C1 level, or if you've been speaking English for quite a while, a few years, or even just a few months, you already have a solid vocabulary. You've already learned a lot of words, and you've developed your vocabulary over time as you've developed your English language ability. So I like to look at it this way. You have your own bag of words, and it contains thousands of words that are available for you to use in the writing section and speaking sections of the IELTS exam. It has thousands of words already that you'll recognize and be able to understand when it comes to reading and listening. Now, I'm not sure exactly how many words you'll have, but for example, I'm a native English speaker and I'm well educated. I have an advanced degree, so I probably have anywhere from 40 to 50,000 words in my vocabulary. So that's a pretty big bag of words. And if you're not a native speaker or you haven't been speaking English your whole life like I have, your bag of words probably isn't uh, so big. But that's not the problem. The problem is not the amount of words in your vocabulary. It's the amount of words that you can use effectively. So even if I have 40 to 50,000 words in my vocabulary, the honest truth is I only use a fraction of them on a daily basis. And the same is probably true for you. You probably only use a small percentage of all the words that you really know, because we become comfortable with using certain phrases and certain words. And so we tend to repeat these more often than other expressions and words that we use. So the goal of this lesson and to help you build your vocabulary is to start with the words that you already know. Start with your own bag of words. Except let's reach a little deeper into the bag. Let's start using some of the words that we don't use so often. They're words that we recognize, they're words that we know the meaning of. It's just that we haven't been using them as often as we could. So what I want to show you is how you can take the vocabulary that you already have and use it more effectively and reach a little deeper into that bag of words so that you have a greater capacity and ability to express yourself in English. So let's get started, and I'm going to just share my top 3 tips for building your vocabulary. And the first thing is simply this: buy a notebook. Or if you just prefer to work on the computer, start a new folder or document in your on your computer. And this is where you're going to develop a routine of writing every day, even if it's just for 5 minutes. No more than a few minutes every day. Develop the routine of writing every day and begin to express your own ideas, your own thoughts, and your own feelings about anything. Don't just find yourself a website with all the academic topics of IELTS and an academic word list and try to use those. Just start with what you already have and develop this routine, expressing your own ideas, your own thoughts, and your own feelings every day. If you have some interactions with your friends at school or at work, your colleagues at work, and you're thinking about it as you write, just write something that happened during the regular course of your day, maybe with your family, with your children or your spouse, and you have some thoughts on something that took place or a conversation you had. Well, just write your own ideas and thoughts and opinions about that. Maybe you watched a great show on TV or listened to a podcast or read a good article in a magazine. Just take the time, 5 to 10 minutes every day, and just write your own ideas, your own thoughts, and your own feelings, and write them in your own words. Don't go looking for new words. Just begin to use the words that you already know and get in the habit of learning to express your own ideas, your own thoughts and feelings and opinions. Because this is really, for example, this is really the main task of writing task 2, where you have to write a 250-word essay. And one of the most important instructions that you'll see on every writing task 2 prompt, regardless of the topic, regardless of whether you're asked to agree or disagree or offer solutions to a problem, there's always a consistent instruction that comes with every writing 2 task. And it always says this: give reasons and relevant examples. And they come from your own experience, your own life and experience. And that is one of the most important parts for getting a good mark on writing task 2, is that ability to give good reasons and relevant examples from your own life and your own experience. So just taking the time, a few minutes a day, to practice and to get in the habit and develop a routine of expressing your own ideas and your own thoughts and feelings with your own vocabulary will go a long way to preparing you for the writing task in the IELTS exam. And the same is true for the speaking section, because even though you're doing this and writing every day, you're beginning to bring vocabulary to mind, and you're learning how to express yourself in writing, which will transfer quite easily to improving your vocabulary for your speaking exam as well. So this is the first step. Just buy a notebook. Don't try to add anything fancy, no special vocabulary. Express your own ideas and thoughts with your own words. And then I want you to take the words that you already know and begin to try and use them in different ways. And this is where you begin to think about synonyms for the words that you already know. And even in this case, I'm not asking you to learn brand new synonyms. So it's not a matter of just looking at word lists and memorizing the dictionary. What you're going to do is, after a week or so of writing, after a few days of writing every day in your notebook, I just want you to take a look and just start circling some of the words that you seem to use quite often. Some of the words that begin to look a little repetitive. Some of the words that you might think that you'll use too much. And then once you've identified these words, pick 2 or 3 and see if you can think of 2 or 3 words that mean the same thing as these words. And chances are you already know some words. And in a few minutes before we finish this lesson, I'm going to show you a resource where you can identify synonyms, and I guarantee there'll be words that are already in your bag of vocabulary. You just need to bring them out and practice using them. So then for the following week, as you continue to just write your own thoughts and ideas from your own experience, instead of using the words that you seem to repeat so often, try adding in some of the new synonyms and start using some other options for expressing the same ideas. And in this way, quite naturally and effectively, you're building your vocabulary. Because if you can bring to mind even 2 words that mean the same thing as one word that you already know, then you've just tripled your vocabulary. You've tripled your ability to express yourself about different topics. So this is the second step. As you're writing in your notebook, begin to identify words that you repeat often, and then think of other words that you already know or can already identify, and begin to try and use those words instead. And quite naturally, you will see your vocabulary begin to grow almost exponentially. It's not about adding new words. It's increasing your ability to use the words that are already in your bag of vocabulary. Another way that you can increase your vocabulary is to take these same words, for example, the words that you seem to use repetitively, and begin to not only look for synonyms, but be able to see ways that you can use the same word, but in a different form. For example, on the slide here, you can see the word act. Well, act is a verb, but you could also use it as an action, which is a noun. Or you can say active and use it in a sentence as an adjective, or actively as an adverb. So if there's a situation that requires attention, you need to act. If there's a situation that requires attention, you need to take action. If there's a situation that requires attention, you need to be active. If there's a situation that requires attention, you need to actively seek a solution. And basically, I've just said the same thing in 4 ways, using the same word, but in different forms. So I've just quadrupled my vocabulary with 1 word. And this is how you can, again, develop your vocabulary naturally, starting with the words that you already know. So just write in that journal, that notebook, every day. Begin to look at the words that you seem to use and repeat too often. Think of synonyms that you can use for those words, and then also begin to think of using different word forms for the same word. So here's just a couple of more examples. We must act to protect the environment. We must take action to protect the environment. And that leads to paraphrasing. So when we begin to learn synonyms and new word forms, we're going to be restructuring our sentences, and that will happen automatically. And suddenly, we've developed the capacity for paraphrasing. We are just increasing our options for using the words that we already know. We have to take action to be environmentally responsible. So I'm hoping you're seeing already as we're just partway through this lesson that memorizing academic word lists and searching the dictionary and trying to remember different definitions and using words awkwardly because we don't have experience with them is not the answer to success on the IELTS exam. This is a simple method, and with a little time and a little effort and just taking a few minutes every day, you can really improve and increase your vocabulary. And then you can begin, once you've gotten into the habit, this is where you can start to add 2 or 3 words per week. And that's all you need to do. You can start to add 2 or 3 words, new words to your vocabulary bag each week. And the way that I recommend it to do this, again, is quite naturally. Add 2 or 3 words that you might hear for the first time, maybe as you're reading something, or you're watching a TV show, or you're having a conversation with your colleagues at work or your friends at school. When you hear a new word and it sounds like a word that is easy to understand and something that could be added to your bag of vocabulary and added to your repertoire of words, add them in and begin to try and use them as you write each day in your notebooks. So these new words are not being added because you're going to an academic word list and trying to force words into your vocabulary. It happens by immersion. It happens quite naturally. And most importantly, it's stress-free. It's a process where you're developing your vocabulary with your own resources. And what's going to happen, and the reason that I recommend this way of developing your vocabulary is because this is going to give you a lot more confidence when it comes to test day, because you're going to be using words that you're experienced with, you're capable of using them effectively, and this is only going to build your confidence. And one of the things that I get asked about so often is, how can I remain calm and relaxed when I feel so much pressure, especially, for example, in the speaking section? The speaking section, for some reason, seems to be the section of the IELTS exam that causes the most stress. And usually that's because we're trying to impress the examiner. And I can tell you that it does not impress the examiner when you bring out fancy words or long words or technical or academic words. It doesn't impress the examiner because he's not looking to be impressed by your vocabulary in that sense, because that examiner is a very experienced English speaker. You're not going to bring out any new words that are going to impress him or her. Okay. What that examiner wants to know is, can you express yourself in English naturally and in a relaxed way and use vocabulary that's appropriate to the questions that you're being asked or the topic you're being asked to speak about. And by the way, one of the good things about the speaking section is that you are the topic. Your life, your experience is the topic. And that's why this method and writing and getting used to the idea of expressing your own ideas and opinions every day is a big step toward your success on the IELTS exam. So I just want to finish up by telling you about what I think is the best resource for learning new synonyms, for learning word forms, and for learning how to paraphrase. And it's called wordhippo.com. And I would really encourage you to check out this website. It has kind of a funny name, but it is the best website for developing your vocabulary. It's a tool that can go hand in hand with the method that I've described to you today and can be most effective in developing your vocabulary. I hope you found this helpful. I really want to encourage you to give this a try, and I wish you all the best on your journey as you continue to prepare for the IELTS exam.